Please be seated. Record will reflect that we are in session on State of Wisconsin versus Kayle Fleischauer. The appearances are as previously noted. At about 3:05, the court received a communication from the bailiff that the jury had reached its verdict. And Ms. Icarella, you are the foreperson?
Yes, I am.
Would you hand the verdict forms to the bailiff, please? The verdict that has been returned reads as follows. We, the jury, duly impaneled, as and for our verdict in the above captioned matter, find Kayle Allen Fleischauer guilty of second-degree reckless homicide, contrary to Section 940.06 Wisconsin statutes. This charge in the information dated this 3rd day of March 2020, signed by foreperson Icarella. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, has the court correctly announced your verdict? If yes, say yes. If no, say no. Folks, what I'm going to do now is conduct what's called an individual questioning of each of you. It's called a polling. So I will identify you by name and ask if the verdict as announced by the court is in fact your verdict. So Juror Raska, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Busey, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Sagsetter, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Juror Casey, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Reed, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Tolman, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Peterson, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Anderson, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Drewski, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Smith, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. Juror Jotblad, is the verdict of guilty as announced by the court your verdict? Yes. And Juror Icarella, is the verdict as announced by the court of guilty your verdict? Yes. Thank you. Satisfied with the poll, Mr. Gray?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, now that your service in this case is completed, some of you may have questions about the confidentiality of these proceedings. You are free to discuss the case with any person you choose. However, you do not have to discuss the case with anyone or answer any questions about it from anyone other than the court. If you do decide to discuss the case with anyone, including the media, keep in mind that your fellow jurors fully and freely stated their opinions and may not want those opinions made public. As a result, I would ask that you please respect the privacy of the views of your fellow jurors. Members of the jury, on behalf of Mr. Kaiser, Ms. Ellenwood, Mr. Gray, Ms. Montgomery, Mr. Fleischauer, and St. Croix County, the court would like to again express its sincerest gratitude and appreciation for your service in this case. The court recognizes that you have devoted significant time and tolerated restrictions on your normal activities during this trial. Your service, however, is a necessary and essential part of the justice system guaranteed by the Constitution. I hope you found your experience to be a rewarding one, and I thank you for your service. You are excused.
All rise.
Please be seated. Mr. Kaiser?
Your Honor, because there is still the remaining issue regarding the weapons enhancer, the state believes that we will ask for judgment on this verdict when the weapons enhancer decision is made by the court. We're prepared to do that, whatever is at the convenience of the court in that regard.
Thank you. I am prepared to make that decision now. Is there any argument you wish to make, Mr. Kaiser?
No, I've made my argument. You've heard
Mr. Gray? Thank you. Court has reviewed the jury instruction that it would have read to the jury in this particular case, and it requires that the jury find beyond a reasonable doubt that this crime was committed while Mr. Fleischauer was armed with a dangerous weapon. the court can indicate that there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt that, in fact, Mr. Fleischauer did commit this crime as determined by the jury while armed with a dangerous weapon, and at this time enter a judgment of conviction for the crime, including the enhancer. Mr. Kaiser.
We ask for bail to be revoked.
Thank you. This time bail is revoked. Mr. Fleischauer is remanded to the custody of the St. Croix County Sheriff. We will schedule sentencing counsel. I'll have my staff reach out to both of you tomorrow to find a date approximately 60 days pushed out, and at that time we will conduct the sentencing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We are adjourned. Thank you.